Hello, welcome to the end of the year film festival for the Communication Leadership Graduate Program. I am Jacob Christensen. I'm one of the instructors in the program. I teach video storytelling, and I am so genuinely proud of all the phenomenal content that our students create. Some of them enter the program never having held a camera before, and they are going on to win awards. We have students that have won multiple awards this year, been featured in film festivals, and they're so eager and humble all at the same time. I am so proud of them. I hope you got your popcorn ready, maybe a beverage or two, hanging out. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting our community. And without further ado, enjoy the show.
On the bus on the way back to Harbor, all the folks on the bus were like, "No, cool, it is." They have lived in Washington their entire lives and never got to do that. I was like, "Okay, well, cool. I'm glad I didn't drop it." And then my boy JD, she's like, "Okay, you're Salmon Joe from now on." I'm like, "Okay." So what a brewer does is we like to say that we make beer. We don't make beer. He makes beer. We make wort, which is basically pre-beer. And our job is to feed and breed yeast. Fundamentally, we're yeast ranchers. I think that there's a thing in the craft beer world where like the rising tide raises all ships. So if like we're helping to promote a bustling beer community here, so much the better. And I don't have to say we're single-handedly doing it, but it feels good. It feels really good. Be able to kind of like come into an historic building, an historic brewing area in Tacoma, and kind of like help build it back up again. The chemistry, it's kind of spooky because I've just happened upon these people and they've just happened upon me. It's kind of cool. It was just the way it worked out. On the other side of the wall, on the production side, I mean, we're a bunch of beer nerds in the first place. So it's actually really kind of refreshing and lovely to have nerds in the front of the house too, that get excited as we do, because they can then communicate that to the clientele, but also they also have a genuine passion too. And it's great for me at the end of the day after my shift to be able to sit down at the bar and like talk with the folks behind the bar for my friends. There is nothing I like more than talking with a customer who said, I see you back there. I really like what you're doing. Really like the beer. Thank you. I mean, without, our fan base, we'd be nothing.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'll see you later.
We have a great team that's producing really, really great beer. And I get weepy when I talk about it. It took me a long time in my life to find my calling, and this is it. I'm proud to do it, and like I said, I get up every day and enjoy coming to work and doing this job.
This was actually the third one to exist in Seattle. The only reason why the other two had closed before this one was the fact that they did not have enough space to hold the detainees.
One of the previous locations was on Union and First Avenue in downtown Seattle, right along the waterfront area where immigrants coming off their 4-week journey on sea would be escorted immediately into the INS building. On November 30th, 1920, Ao Shi Eng was one of the many immigrants who went to the station on Union and First Avenue, and Elena Lim, granddaughter of Ao Shi, is here to talk about her experience.
Can you tell me, why did your grandmother want to immigrate to Seattle?
You know, sadly, I didn't ask my grandmother why she wanted to immigrate. And I'm not sure if she would have answered me anyway, because I realize now she was having to protect her husband, who was a paper son.
The US institutionalized possession of Chinese birth records, preventing many Chinese from ever becoming US citizens. But incidents like the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire destroyed documentation of Chinese records there. Many Chinese were then claiming to be American-born or related to somebody with US citizenship, so a paper son is family by paperwork. Art Wing Ing, a merchant, a paper son, a Chinese American, and Ao Shi's husband. They wanted to reunite in America.
What types of questions would officers ask at the INS?
You know, the questions that were asked when I look at the interrogations, they were aligned to the thinking of the 1870s, what you mentioned about the Page Act.
The 1875 Page Act restricted laborers from China, Japan, or any Oriental country to come over to the US for lewd and immoral purposes, essentially targeting Asian women who were all perceived as prostitutes and seen as a sexual threat to Americans.
And I really feel like they were trying to figure out, was my grandmother truly my grandfather's wife, or was she a prostitute?
What type of questions were they trying to ask Ao Shi then? Do you have like a record of the actual questions?
Oh, I do.
For everyone listening, we have a reenactment recording of Ao Shi's interrogation transcript that would have occurred in the 1920s INS building. Take a listen.
In the matter of the application of Ao Shi, entered on SS Princess Adelaide, November 30, 1920, for admission to the United States as the wife of Ing Ark Wing, merchant, Seattle.
Let's begin. What are your names?
你有幾多個名？
我梁家聲係歐潘，我姓歐。
My maiden name is Ao Pon. I am of the Ao family.
And they were asking questions like,
How much did this man pay your mother for you?
你丈夫俾幾多錢你媽媽嚟娶你呢？
我唔知道。
I don't know.
and being that my grandfather was Americanized, why did you not
Have the white man's ceremony performed.
你丈夫係好美國化㗎，點解佢唔用白人嘅結婚儀式啊？
我唔清楚，不過我個媽媽想我傳統式禮節結婚。
I don't know, because my mother wanted me to be married the old way.
So they're trying to paint it off as a transaction or, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was transactional rather than something that was cultural.
I move the case be deferred, pending examination of other witnesses.
I make it unanimous.
I second the motion.
Applicant unable to write name.
You know the adage, those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. For myself, I had to learn the history so that I wouldn't repeat it. My grandparents and my parents were so fearful about talking about our family history, and I realized I needed to figure out what it was so that I could learn how to speak about it, and that's what I'm doing now.
I just always have associated a sense of so much calmness and so much joy by seeing water, and there's just this vastness to water, I think, that just makes me feel really comforted. I'm Samriddhi. I also go by Sam. I use she, her, and I'm a graduate student at UW, the Communication Leadership Program. I grew up in Ahmedabad, which just has one river in it, and that would also be very dry most of the year. So growing up, having water bodies around was always somewhat of a scarcity for me and a little bit of a luxury for me. So I would always look forward to holidays when I would get to go to see water, like go to see beaches and go to see other lakes. And when I came here, it was just absolutely met all expectations. When I came here, it was a sunny day and the water was glistening. So saw the whole Seattle skyline on my way from the airport and with the sweeping water views of Elliott Bay. And I just, growing up, that felt like such a luxury to me to be around, to be living in a city with such an amazing water view. And I've always wanted that, so I was super happy. And I love Golden Gardens. I think Golden Gardens is the best beach that Seattle has in all the water bodies and beaches I've explored. Like Golden Gardens, it's never a bad day at Golden Gardens, right? While you're living a very city life, getting to be around a vast mountain like Rainier, getting to have like sweeping water views wherever you go, I think it's just so amazing. The more people start learning about it, I think the more excited they become. Like even Pike Place, like I think Seattle has such a history with its water bodies and such a symbiosis there, because you know the whole market, the Pike Place market evolved around that Elliott Bay, right? Like the fishery is there, and the whole like the most happening scene, the Pike Place market downtown, it has amazing water views. And people go there for the serene, calm feeling of that view, but also there's a life around it. Seattle cannot be dissociated with its water. Like it's very integral to what the city is. The presence of these water bodies has had a huge impact in making me feel welcome and comforted and happy being in Seattle.
Food is something that brings people together. When you feed people, you change their attitude toward you. I was told a long time ago that feed people, they become your friends. My name is Wali Khairjada. I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. I came to the United States to pursue my higher education and then came to Seattle. In 1992, my cousin and I decided to open a restaurant. The only thing that we knew as far as food is concerned is Afghan food. That's what we grew up with. Seattle didn't have an Afghan restaurant here, and we thought we should try it. We opened a Kabul restaurant, and ever since that, it's been 30 years. That's what we're doing. I joke with customers sometimes. They say, once I get you here, I have you for life. Every customer is important. We give them the best service possible. Last night, as a matter of fact, a couple showed up. They said they haven't been here for 25 years. They moved out to different states. They had to come back for their kids' graduation. And the first thing they did, they came to Kabul restaurant. People like that who like us, keep us in business. Not only the customers, the people who work with us for all these years.
I was born and raised in Afghanistan, and then through United Nations and Refugee Resettlement Program, I came to United States. My friends and I, we have a small community, folks like me who came through the same program, one of whom was actually working at Kabul at the time. He brought me here to eat, and then I talked to Kaka Ali and just got a job and I stayed here since. It was more than just a job. As an Afghan, I wanted to also represent what my country has to offer. When I tell my customers about the foods that we have, or when they ask me questions, that sort of builds a connection between us that is very unique, because after they are done eating, I feel like they could understood what I have been able to enjoy all these years.
The food indicates a part of our culture. I talk to lots of my customers. They're interested to chat with me regarding different subjects related to Afghanistan, which makes me happy. We all like good food, all of us. And when you go out yourself one night, you want to have a good time. So when a person walks in here, they like the food and the atmosphere and the service, that's rewarding for the hard work that we do. We do work hard, and that is a part of the success that we've been here for 30 years.
Why you shouldn't come to Kabul? Everything is awesome. The food that comes to your table is not only to just fill you up, but also create memory with your table, with your server.
It's a kind of family. Once you become part of Kabul restaurant, you become part of the family.
Captain speaking, NSS Senior First Officer Rashmi Abdullah. The cabin supervisor for today's flight is Aisha. You can cover the distance of 3,515 km in 3 hours 55 minutes. In Bahrain, and it's 25 degrees Celsius. You are requested to please keep your seats upright and fasten your seatbelt. You are requested not to use your mobile phones during taxiing, takeoff, and landing. For your safety and security, please find your and once again, welcome on board. You're flying under latest Boeing 777-300, and we wish that you'll be having a pleasant flight with us.
How it feels like leaving behind your loved ones, your family and friends, adopting a new lifestyle in a new place. Hello people who have landed in a new place. I am Mehek Ijaz, your host for tonight. We will be talking about the lifelong struggles of an immigrant, how they thrive and survive, sharing the experiences of the immigrants who accept the new lifestyle, culture and language, coming out of their comfort zone and changing inside out, overcoming adversity and adjusting into a positive lifestyle. Here is the first episode of Moving from Uncertainty to Confidence, The Arrival. So today I would like to share some of my experiences. It reminds me of the days when I was trying to fit things in my car, making space for a stroller in my luggage. I'm trying to make some space. Oh my god, it's so difficult. I finally decided to walk into a car dealership that I was planning to go for a very long time. Mesmerized with the ambience, amazing cars in the display, and fascinated by the luxury. Sitting there waiting for the dealer to show up, who could give me an insight about the car I'm looking for. Getting calls from my family, my brother suggesting buying a Highlander, my sister calling to call my father and let him know that I am planning to buy a car. My phone overloaded with calls and messages from my family. Sitting far away from my family, yet I could feel their presence. My father is my backbone, my supporter. Even though I'm independent, my life is dictated and supported by my father. He is my emotional and financial support. Since my childhood, I have been brought up in a conservative and overprotective family where women stay at home, seek good education, get married to mend their homes. Landing into the United States was a mere dream. Surviving as an immigrant was a challenge. A great motivation for all women who came from the subcontinent. Believe in yourself. Seek help and support of your family to become a better person. You need to strive and bring the best out of you. Family can help and support, but ultimate decision-making power is in your hands. Survival is not impossible. It is possible with positive intention and purpose. Look at the opportunities around you and gain advantage of it. So here, I would like to share an experience and a great motivator, influencer, and a blogger, Yumna from Canada, who shares her story, her experience of why she migrated from Pakistan to Canada. Thank you so much, Yumna, for being part of this episode. And at the end, I would like to say to my listeners, things may not work out, but you can be proud of how you faced uncertainty. It's been 6 months I purchased my car, and it's already 6,000 miles. We both have traveled so far. Thank you.
I think the hands-on career is really fun. In that order, you have the surgeon's tool. They'll teach you how to use medical equipment. You can strike up a conversation, ask them what to do, ask them how they got there. Lots of networking opportunities. It's just a wide field, and you learn a lot.
I don't have any interest yet, but I am looking for a career for my future. This event inspired me to help another people with medicine, maybe in dental or X-ray. It showed me like a lot of opportunities of like programs that I can take, or like summer camps that would help me like learn more about subjects that I'm interested in. And I think that was really helpful because like it shows me the next step. Woman who was like running the stand, she like just seemed really like passionate, and she was talking about her job, and like I hope that one day like I find a job that makes me like that excited to talk about it.
The joy on the students' faces, you know, you did your job when they were walking around and all you hear is wow and cool and yelling out and high-fiving our friends like, that's fire, you know?
And we're just very excited to be able to do this and to watch our students go from one program to the next and see them actually graduate and become a physician or a healthcare provider in another field or doing what they love. And that's really what gives us joy, is being able to provide them those opportunities that we didn't have.
So I saw this is my first time seeing learning. Asking the nurses questions, and then like they were answering my questions. And I think it will help me in the future though.
You know, me being as a Black woman surgeon, being in front of them, letting them know that we are here, we have a place to address the health needs and health inequities that our communities face. If they go into medicine or not, just knowing that the possibilities for their future, that we've done our job.
We're gonna find better care for our communities because we're increasing the number of not diverse individuals in the health professions.
And I really appreciate the opportunity for so many of us from different parts of the healthcare industry to come together and really paint that picture of how expansive and how varied the opportunities are in healthcare. Like, you know, we need the talent, right? We need people who are bringing new energy and new excitement and new perspectives to join us in the industries. It almost didn't seem possible in my mind that that was really going to happen, and it really did. And I hope that students will, you know, talk with each other, talk with teachers, talk with others in their communities about the opportunities, that maybe there's a next step for them.
Welcome to the 2023 Sound Careers in Healthcare live stream event, where it will be an interactive healthcare scenario with a exploration into healthcare. We have a few questions coming in, and it's really about surgery.
I got the chance to ask the questions that I had to someone who actually had experience. And I really liked the way she explained everything, and I think that really inspired me because I also want to be a surgeon.
Having still technology to feed their questions told me that they were engaged, they were listening, and there was interest in the field. And so we were still able to convey what we needed to convey to the audience broadly. I thought it was very rich discussion and a great starting point for a student to know, okay, I think I can do this.
All right, here we go. We're getting ready for the questions.
This would be my first time. Didn't really have any prior stuff. I didn't realize the different kind of perspectives. I didn't think of the medical career as having a wide range of ideas of community, pursuing the same fields in their own groups and with people they would know and work with. And I'm starting to realize how valuable connections are with planning my future. So yeah.
It seems like a warm place to an enjoyable place to work at. In the panel, one of the speakers said that we meet patients where they're at the weakest point in their life. We're there to provide the care they need, and that's what gives you joy as a medical professional. And I certainly want to do that, to adjust my mind to be patient-centered rather than just knowledge. And it's just more about me caring about people.
I feel like our students reach out a lot for the opportunity, but a lot of times we don't end up having an actual match where the students. I think we have a lack of communication between the industry and the school level of the reality of the students and their barriers based on geographical location or transportation or time. And at the event, and it just sounded like a perfect fit for my students.
I think it's important that as an employer that we bring that attention to our up and coming generation that hadn't maybe considered possibly healthcare, that they have a different point of view after having attended one or two of these Sound Career in Healthcare events. I am really, really hopeful and that we are going to have a strong pipeline coming forward.
We look forward to seeing you in our workforce soon.
Being critical is a positive part of looking at art. It's fun. It's interesting. It doesn't mean you think things are terrible. It means you're thinking and you're alive and you're feeling it, and the art means something enough that you question it. I think that's really important. I'm Gail Grinnell. I'm an artist, and I make site-specific temporary artwork. Appreciate my own work. Sometimes I appreciate it less, and sometimes I appreciate it a lot. When there are moments, generally I'm really critical, and I'm critical of my work and other people's work, and I think that's an important part of developing my confidence and sense of rightness when I'm working, to see that it's turning out the way I like it to. Because I don't know how I like it to, and I discover that each time as I go along. My early life in a military town that was built to service the development of the atomic bomb in World War II. I was born in 1950 in that town. And I grew up there, and it was during the Cold War, and there was always a sense that there were whole town evacuations, and that made a big impression on a small child. And so I have a preference to do what I'm going to do right then. And then it makes for some problems, kind of a nihilism, that I, have had to deal with all my life. But it's also, no longer functioning like that, but I still worked that way. And even when I had a family and babies, I'd work really quickly because that was all going to blow up and I would have to go in and change the baby or something. So working quickly came out of, came through a natural kind of course of my development. When I come in the studio, I'm usually ready to work. I seldom sit and contemplate in the studio. The contemplation is in the action. I enjoy destroying as much as I do creating in the studio because things can get rolled into the next thing. I had a big drive to make early on and not a lot of resources to do so, and I imagined all sorts of different ways of working that had nothing to do with a formal education, and I didn't manage to get to the university until I was in my 30s, and I had 4 children, but I had the good luck to study with some people who were very seasoned and close to retirement, but very dedicated. Michael Spafford was very instrumental in helping me with my interest in destroying things and making grand gestures and big, understanding that a line could be absolutely anything and made with anything, a knife or a piece of charcoal. And I also met Jacob Lawrence and had a few workshops with him in classes at the University of Washington too. And I had an experience with him that I think about often when I'm drawing, where he had me draw with a charcoal on a wall as long as I could maintain my focus. And, I tried it again and again until I got longer and longer, until I could actually feel the focus, the connection to my hand and that tool. And it was just pivotal. It was just wonderful. And that's what's nice when you're, connecting with someone who's been at it for a long time. The interweaving of family sustains my art. I can't imagine doing anything else. Both my family of origin and my family that I've made are all, people have an orientation toward making, regardless of what they're making or what they're doing, but it's just there and it's very sustaining, and I feel normal in that context, and which I don't always in other contexts. I'm aging, so I've got things that I need to attend to with that process, and I want to do that in a positive way as much as possible that doesn't become, overwhelming. And I'm, just being open at the moment.
We decided to sell the house, and I had to move out, and I went through that difficult emotional journey. And it made me really start thinking and wondering about how we move through change. And that's the idea of the event, was to honor that space, that home, and that idea and that vision that was just completed, even if it looked like maybe a failure to some or an incompletion. Each artist helped tell that story through their work, and I knew that that story I was telling wasn't done yet, because the artist's stories need to be told.
My shows have pretty much followed my life, and my bodies of work have followed my life. For a long time I did mothers and babies, because I had babies. And then it was teenagers, and then I fell in love, and it was teenagers in love. But then I got divorced and my children grew up, and it was women alone.
I was so scared to talk about myself personally in my art in this like raw way, but like so powerful the response to it after all this time of trying to not talk about it.
You and I have talked about this before. Like, I wanted to share my work, but I was scared.
We need to, as artists, separate the end result that we have in our mind that we want to achieve from what the actual reality is, and allow things like that.
And you think about old age and you think, oh, she must be talking about getting old and her body hurting or being a certain age. But no, it's more like an acceptance. It's like a certain degree of wisdom, hopefully. It's a greater clarity about who you are. I mean, it's things that are hard to get to unless you live that long.
He said, well, you got to get a body of work together. You just got to make stuff. You know, he's really encouraging. And, you know, just put it out there, coffee shop or any place. Just keep making stuff.
I think it's like an ego thing, because I used to always be the party girl. Like, I'm who you call to go dancing. And now I cannot really go dancing. And my mobility and like pain stuff, I'm not able to be this person who I used to be. So I've had a death too.
You know, something's gonna break you open, break you apart.
Yeah.
Quite a few things, probably.
So many things, we just look at the final product. We say, oh, look, that person did that thing. It's like, yeah, guess what? It was years to make that movie, or it was years of their life to do this thing. But you just see the end result. You don't see the struggle to get there.
Welcome to Beyond Generations, my journey of discovering what happened to Japanese American people in Seattle during World War II. I am your host, Monica. I am a Japanese student living in Seattle. Before I came here, I knew very little about the history of Japanese Americans in Seattle, so I started interviewing people to learn more. You will hear stories about the incarceration of Japanese Americans in Seattle, and also about what people who did not experience the incarceration themselves have been doing to connect what happened in the past to the future.
They went into the backyard before they were evacuated, and they broke up all of their dishes, and they threw them away, or they buried them in the backyard.
Well, to me, the people are people, and I couldn't understand how
something like what happened in World War II with the internment, how that could even happen.
He was in the Army, and obviously he felt compelled to represent the United States in the Army, but he never talked about reconciling, he's in the Army, but his wife is in the camp. He never reconciled that with me.
So I want to just be able to put a little bit of information out there that will live beyond their lives, beyond their children's lives.
Some history is more important than other history. In the United States, there is a real push for us to have patriotic history. But if we forget that we incarcerated 120,000 people, most of whom were American citizens, then we're losing something.
I want to invite people into this broader idea of who we are as Americans or as members of society, of the world. It's supposed to be an all-inclusive, the beloved community. And until we can really have equal footing for everyone, then we're not all fully liberated. I feel like our liberation is really all tied together.
We can share their stories in a way that more people will become aware of what happened to the Japanese American community, so that they will be inspired to take action to stop history from repeating itself to anyone. It is our responsibility to pass down the stories to future generations. So now, where do you want to start? This podcast is for people who want to know more about their Seattle community and whoever cares about their own communities. Let me take you along with my journey of discovery on this podcast mini-series, Beyond Generations. This is Monica. My journey of discovery will continue.
In early 2020, I took my first trip to Seattle. Little did I know it would turn into a permanent stay because of the unforeseen pandemic. Suddenly, my world was filled with gray skies and white walls, and I desperately needed something to help me escape. That's when I turned to my childhood best friends, books. As a kid, I was quite a reader. I'd sleep with a stack of books next to my pillow and one fallen open right on my face. I could spend hours and hours in the library waiting for my parents to pick me up after school. I remember they would always scold me for reading while eating because, and I quote, "the words would go into my belly instead of my head." But as I grew up and got used to looking at the world through screens, I unfortunately lost my love for reading. So in 2020, I set out on a quest to get it back. I started by buying pre-loved books from eBay, visiting my neighborhood's little library, and borrowing ebooks and audiobooks from my local library using a free app called Libby. I set a goal to read every day before bed. At first, it was a bit of a struggle, but soon enough, I was lost in the stories once again. Last year, in 2022, I ended up reading 73 books out of my goal of 70. When I saw the Seattle Public Library on the client's list, I knew I wanted to do something about it. Being a reader in the US, for me, can be very expensive. Without using library resources, I wouldn't be able to read as much, or to rebuild a good habit, or to learn new things every day. And that's just one of the many things that the library has to offer. And I'm sure that I'm just one of the many people that libraries did or could help. People often think of the library as a place to borrow books, but it's so much more. Libraries provide equal access to resources, serve as community hubs, and connect people through the world of stories. Contrary to the belief that libraries are dying, they are more popular than ever due to the increase in digital materials. Collections are growing, more people are borrowing, and community programs are seeing higher participation rates. But what does all of this have to do with the Seattle Public Library? Seattle is the fastest growing technology hub in the nation, home to the largest companies. It's also the second U.S. city to be designated as a UNESCO City of Literature, a prestigious recognition for a city that supports and promotes diversity in its vibrant literary scene. As a public library system of a city of technology and of literature, the SPL holds in its hands the future of storytelling. With the use of emerging technologies and the involvement of the Seattle community, storytelling, reading, and learning can be creative, communal, and collaborative experiences across formats and platforms. Library materials and resources can go beyond just words, elevated with various sensory elements. Technology is at the forefront as libraries around the nation are setting up maker spaces, creative labs, and recording and production studios. But how does the SPL introduce the vision, gain public input, and get people just excited about the future of libraries? Introducing a pop-up interactive and immersive installation titled The Future of Libraries, showcased at the Bumbershoot Festival where all of Seattle gathers to celebrate creativity. It's also an entertainment destination for families and young adults who can greatly benefit from library resources. The space will be divided into two. The inner space will encompass a recording studio accompanied by a large theater screen with benches and beanbags. Patrons will be encouraged to produce real-time user-generated content, recording stories about their experiences with the libraries or how they utilize library resources to achieve their goals, like my story. As people tell their stories, real-time animation and sound effects will be displayed on the screen using voice recognition and AI, resulting in a more elevated and completed story experience for others to enjoy. The stories will then be rendered, exported, and uploaded to an online collection of the SPL, which can be accessed through the website and apps. Patrons can also browse the collection in the second space of the installation, where interactive projection mapping is used to create a virtual, immersive, and interactive library. When people wearing headphones click or touch on a random book on the shelf, a recorded story, visuals, and audio included will play as a pop-up display on the wall right in front of them. This installation not only allows the SPL to showcase its technology-driven vision and how people can be a part of or benefit from it, but it also enables the SPL to learn about what the community needs from the recorded stories and upgrade it and expand their resources. The audience interaction and shared experiences will drive their engagement and involvement with the library and its development, while hopefully inspiring them to continue their lifelong learning journeys and utilize library resources along the way. This vision isn't something that the SPL can achieve alone, because, after all, The future of libraries is something that we all create.
It's a rainy afternoon in Mumbai, and I'm wading through an ocean of people holding my mom's hand. I'm turning 7, so we are headed to get soul-warming pav bhajis from a cozy eatery in the area. I don't remember how it tasted or what I wore. What I do remember from that day is a wonderful rainbow ring floating gently in a puddle on the wet street. My mom explained that it was engine oil that had dripped onto rainwater. Years later, every time I see these oil rings, especially in rainy Seattle, I marvel at how two immiscible liquids, dirty ones at that, can meet each other to make something beautiful. That moment brings back an entire world. The bustling streets, living away from my dad, moving away from the only friends I had had. The feeling of being tiny in a giant interim city between mandatory uprootings. But it would all be temporary. Every move was. Soon, one of my parents, hopefully both, would be transferred to another place and I would be replanted. Moving always felt more concrete than settledness. Pulitzer-winning author Jhumpa Lahiri once spoke of a panic of it all slipping away. She said, "Everything is borrowed. Nothing is ours. Life is borrowed. We borrow it all. We borrow the sky. We borrow the trees. We borrow people. And then we let go when we pass through and the world remains." I carry a similar panic in my pocket. I hoard reminders of people, words, and times in objects around me. These totems of memory allow me to relive my experiences. Compared to earlier shocks of letting go of familiarity, our house, belongings, staple food, people, even languages, moving to Seattle to study was a decisive and slow, even painfully slow journey. This time I got to choose, to mentally and logistically prepare, to bid wistful goodbyes, and most importantly, to pack a lot of what I was leaving behind in little electronic devices, gifts, and relics. However, new experiences don't come with a compass or roadmap. Often, our immediate response to them is trepidation or caution. Neuroscientist Bo Lotto says that we do this in defense of the biases we harbor, because our biases are inherited or accumulated information. Letting them go can leave us in complete uncertainty. Lotto says that the barrier is that we hate not knowing. Fortunately, evolution gave us a solution to that fear, namely awe. Lotto urges us to consider awe as another way of embracing uncertainty. What if we could use awe not to get rid of conflict? Conflict is essential. Conflict is how your brain expands. It's how your brain learns. Rather, to enter conflict in a different way. To me, this means looking everywhere for awe, scrounging if need be, the touch-me-nots that line roadsides of Mangalore, the manic mafia that is the Crew Federation of Chennai, the diversity in auto rickshaws or tuk-tuks across different cities in India. My phone is usually at the ready to capture anything interesting. Footprints of squirrels on snow, a fingernail-sized moon, or stickers on light poles around campus of angry-looking cartoon animals. One of them a frog screaming, "Anarchy!" In John Green's book, The Anthropocene Reviewed, he has a chapter titled Our Capacity for Wonder. In it, he describes walking in the woods with his 2-year-old son. They looked down at a valley where a cold haze seemed to hug the forest floor, and John tries to get his oblivious son to appreciate the beauty of it all. After some time, his son grabs a brown oak leaf from the tree next to them and exclaims, "Weef!" John writes that, marveling at the perfection of that leaf, I was reminded that aesthetic beauty is as much about how and whether you look as what you see. From the quark to the supernova, the wonders do not cease. It is our attentiveness that is in short supply, our ability and our willingness to do the work that awe requires. In short, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In a similar sense, awe has been my storyteller, a companion on my daily tourism, excitedly pointing things out to me to gasp at and take notice. Awe is light on the heart, easy to carry on walks to the grocer's, and the lucidity and sense of connectedness that we get when in awe leaves us wanting for more. This could explain why divers and surfers keep going back to the sea and musicians revisit the same compositions over and over, and why people fall in love despite the difficult nature of heartbreaks. When the world buries us in noise, awe helps us rise over the disdain. None of us are strangers to awe. Poems come and go, so do sunsets and star-studded skies. Yet, they remain marvelous each time. In collecting everyday awe, we can expand our limited storage for life.
Joy, and I am a talent acquisition partner here at TikTok, supporting all the core teams recommendations hiring. I graduated from UW with a master's degree in communication leadership. I have been working here for almost a year and a half now. When I first time explored on the TikTok career website, the mission really caught me, inspired creativity and bring joy. So I am a person who really enjoy to bringing happiness to people around me, and including a lot of my friends and colleagues, they're saying, Joy, you are really live up to your name. So I think it's definitely, the mentality that deeply embedded with TikTok mission. Always day one is one of the core values here. Having the always day one mindset pushes us to continuously grow and evolve as a company and as a product. TikTok is a really good place. We are gathered the most talented people from all over the world. So you will definitely get a lot of opportunities to working with cross-functional stakeholders, members, and learn from each other, including the product knowledges, technical stuff, and also how we process as a org. And I personally feel really grateful to be part of my current team, and we are just like a big family. Working as a TAP, we need to handle end-to-end full recruiting cycle from very beginning of candidate sourcing, resume screening, hiring requirements to successfully onboarding a talent. I really enjoy the time I talk to a variety of backgrounds candidates, because in that way we can hear their successful stories, impact they have been done before, and we also can try to help them to connect to the right opportunity and see how TikTok can help them to grow in their next chapter. It's very action-packed and deeply fulfilling thus far. I'm very happy and feel proud of myself for all the progression to date. So I feel like it's just get started, and I'm really looking forward to making more great impacts and bringing joy to our community. And after all, it's always day one. Welcome to TikTok family, and this is definitely a really great place for you to grow and lots of opportunity and resources for you.